is our interview with Mr. Rotello. What did your family do in Italy?
Well, a little bit of both. We're a small little furniture store, and we also were into the wine business. We had vineyards. We used to produce wine and sell it. We had vineyards. We had I don't know how many acres of land. There were, you plant the vita, what they call vita, produce wine, and you sell. Young as I was, I had a job to do, of course, You've probably seen movies where they stump the grapes to wine on. I've done that.
Next question, would you ever want to go back to Italy?
Would I want to go back? I'll go back tomorrow, sure, just to visit, of course. I don't think I would want to go back to stay there, but I'd go back tomorrow to visit, sure.
What was your first reaction to entering the United States?
Impressive, huge. New York City, which was where we landed, was very impressive. We came by boat, by ship, and we landed at the island over there, and we came on by train to Milford. That's what our original home was.
So that's where you first went when you came here. From New York, you went to Milford.
Hey, what was the first place you ever lived inside the United States, and how was that environment different from the place you lived in Italy?
Well, for instance, we was readjusting to a new way of life. Going to work on a daily basis for a week earnings, where in Italy we didn't do that. We had a different way of life. As I was saying earlier, we were winemakers, and we had a store, small furniture store. So it was not a 9-to-5 affair at all, where you work on a daily basis. Life was completely different.
What was the first thing you did in the United States?
I went to work for Drapers Corporation over in Hopedale, Mass. And my job was what they call coal maker. And as I was told, they during the war they used to make parts for airplanes and tanks and trains and all other stuff for the government, all government stuff, But the true nature of the shop, of the factory that I worked, was they used to make, was a textile, they used to make looms, a textile machinery. And my job was, they call it coal maker. Coal maker is something that, I don't know if you guys are familiar with. You make this coal with terracotta, meaning sand and oil mixture. Mm-hmm. You make a core, and where you pour liquid iron into it, then you come up with a tool or whatever you were making, to be part of that textile, part of that machinery, or wherever they were making at that particular time. Yeah, and thereafter I decided that in order for me to see more, to learn more, to enjoy life perhaps, and explore, there's other things for me to do. So I decided to go into service. So I joined the USA Air Corps, what they call it, as we know today, is the Air Force. In those days, was the U.S. Air Corps was part of was a branch of the Army, and I was back in 1951, and that was it. I went into service for about 4 years, mainly because I want to again improve myself and see what it's all about, see what life is all about. I was eager to learn.
Was it any hard to fit into the United States culture, like to settle in?
Not really. It wasn't very hard for me to adjust or to fit in, mainly because, again, I had a mentality that I was here to advance myself and to learn. So I tried to do what the world, let's say, was doing at that time, and I fit right in it, and no problem whatsoever. Yeah.
No one really looked at you differently, or
No, not really.
nothing like that?
No.
Where in Italy did you live?
We lived way down south, almost as far south you can go, to the boot of Italy. If you have a picture in your mind of the shape of Italy, we were way down south.
So somewhere in Sicily?
Not very far from Sicily, across from Sicily. We were in Calabria. Calabria is part of the mainland. Sicily's an island by itself. There's a straight Messina there, then you go to Sicily. We're not very far from Sicily, maybe a couple hundred miles away.
So it's called, what was the name? Calabria?
Calabria. The state, that's the state of Calabria, yeah.
Nowadays, present day, how do you feel about the United States? How it kind of switched politics and economics around from back when you first entered the United States to now?
Well, that's a tough question to answer. Certainly I'm not happy with lots of stuff going on, but we're still the best there is. We're still the best country in the world, but we're not perfect.
Now, what was the time period when you first came to America? What year?
What year?
Yes.
This was 1947. Yeah, right after the war. Again, we go back to bringing two houses into one. My father was here all his life. The man was practically here all his life, although he wasn't born here, but he came as a child, so he spent all his life over here. When he got married, he had a home there and a home here. Used to come back and forth all the time. And then when they decided that that's too much, we got to get two houses into one. So we came over here, and that was in 1947, right after the war. World War II ended in 45, and by the time everything was accomplished, all the paperwork and all that was 1947 before we were able to come here.
Now, were you at all affected by the war?
Truly, no. We could see and we could hear, going on, but we were not disturbed or affected by it,
Now, you told me a story before about the Nazis coming into your
Nazis, they were, best I can tell you, they were driving through our little town, and they blew up a bridge because they wanted to slow down the Allies, the Americans, from chasing them, been after them. So they blew up a bridge, and but they never hurt anyone, the Nazis or anybody. They just took off. There was no resistance in our area.
Mm-hmm.
There was resistance, in Sicily, and there was a resistance around the Naples area. But in our area, there was no resistance. There was just the American coming in and the Germans taking off, leaving.
Now, you saw the Nazis with your own eyes, like you actually
Of course, yeah. We were children, kids. Just talk and carry on with them. You and I, what you're now,
And what year was that in? Was that 45 or 44?
That was you can say 45, a couple during the war,
Mm-hmm.
during the war years, because they just come by and do their thing, they watch, inspect, take off, you know. Finally, as they were losing ground, they decide to mine the bridge, and then one day blow that up, you know, when it came. And that's what happened. They stationed some Germans there in that little town to work to mine the bridge, and once the bridge went up the air, they blew that up, but they took off. They didn't hang around. There was no need for them to stay there, because this, basically that area there was nothing but agriculture area, you know. You have farming and farming and farming. Olive trees and vineyards and chestnut trees and the likes of all kinds of fruit trees was strictly, there was nothing there to destroy anymore. What do you want to destroy a vineyard or an olive tree? You know, so they were just taking off, leaving, so they didn't stay there.
Well, that's the end of the interview.
All right, thank you, Papa.